and welcome to This Week in Hospitality Marketing, live show number 275. We had like a dozen other co-hosts with us, and they all left. No, Robert was with us earlier and developed audio problems after he started eating. I think that was the key thing. He started eating, and there went his audio. But with me is Mr. Dean Schmidt, founder, CEO, chief thinking operator, lead partner, managing director of Basecamp Meta and MetaSearch Marketing.
You got it. Excellent.
Hey, I have some contention with Stuart Butler from Fuel Travel's recommendation to you about your podcast. One minute he's congratulating you on the quality and success of the content, and then he's bashing your intro host. I don't know why the polarity there.
I difficult to say. I feel like he's got a grudge match in there somewhere,
I think,
and it had to do with. Yeah, it had something to do with the hamster as a child, but
Actually, I was a lead to unabashedly compliment you on your podcast. It really is. It is excellent to listen to. Content's outstanding. The last one, secretively, I know more of because I get to schedule them, so I can't say that yet. But in an upcoming episode,
right,
is excellent about budgeting and so forth. And also the one coming after that is also. I haven't listened to the whole thing yet, so but of course you're interviewing a quality person. So
yeah. Well, so as you know, we've got one coming up that talks about budgeting that you mentioned. Yep. And we have another one coming up where I interviewed Adele from Aspire Reputation Marketing. Just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to the subject of guest feedback, reputation marketing, and so on. And, I've got a background in that field as well, so it's really fun to talk with her about that. But my background comes from a technology perspective, right? And I've used from TrustU, Review Pro, Medallia, Revenate, all of the big players in town. But it's not about the technology. The technology helps you do something, but it's about the what are you doing? And Adele is so good at embracing that and really teaching people how to do that.
Mr. Cole, are you back with us in both sound, mind, and body?
Oh, I wouldn't go over all three of those. I think the second one is.
Well, I was referring to sound as more the audio component of your life.
I can hear you now, at least. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh,
there's Adele.
Speaking of who we're thinking about, Adele, you missed all the flourishing compliments from Dean, or maybe you did catch them. I don't know.
That's why she came on the show.
Thank you, Dean. It was so nice chatting with you on the podcast. I can't wait to see how it comes out.
Absolutely.
Speaking of which, Adele is going to venture into the same pool of water happiness of podcasting soon.
Yes, I have one appointment coming up for an interview for the podcast with the GM of a hotel in London called the Royal Lancaster.
Oh, very nice.
And Lancaster, I think that's what it is. And she took the hotel from number 250 something to number 17 on TripAdvisor.
Whoa.
So I'm really very fascinated by that case study. Excellent. And I have another one coming up with the assistant general manager of Hall's Chop House, who their restaurant is number 3 on TripAdvisor for the entire country. There are so many restaurants just in Charleston alone, not to mention South Carolina, not to mention the entire country. So to be number 3 is amazing. And actually 4 restaurants in Charleston are in the top 25, which is
wow.
Something great is going on over here.
Wow.
Charleston
hey, listen, I don't mean to call you out on public broadcasting, but I noticed a recent Facebook post in which you weren't with your husband. Just, I don't know. It just seems a little odd that you'd be posting pictures with another person.
Yes, that's true. It's visit my Facebook or my Aspire Reputation Marketing Facebook page, and you'll see that I'm embracing Ollie, the wise owl of TripAdvisor. Who used to have one red eye and one green eye. I miss that. They changed the logo a little bit, but I really miss that. Yeah. But that was when they invited me to speak at a masterclass. I think it was in Chicago. And I just enjoyed sharing the story with hoteliers so much then that now I'm doing it all the time.
Happen to notice the picture. not trying to call you out, but calling you out.
Okay,
Sorry,
now I've got a recommendation. What you need to do to differentiate yourself from other podcasts, right?
Yeah.
Is you post-pandemic, once things settle down. I mean, you can start off and do it the old regular way, just like the Laurens and the Deans and guys like that.
Under
But
the bus we
then
go.
what you need to do is then you travel in person to visit them. So you get to
Oh, yeah.
go to the Royal Lancaster. And I
That's
think,
great.
and you negotiate as part of the deal that you need to stay there for maybe a week or something, because you need that consistency, not just that you arrive
And
the
multiple
one,
takes.
the one day, exactly, and you stay for the entire week. Then you have the podcast, and you move on to your next,
I'm all
and you can do it
Well,
weekly.
see, that's graduating into the level they call influencers. You have to become an influencer.
I'm all in on that.
Oh,
That
we
sounds
lost
like-
Robert. Speaking of which, Adele, Dean's doing something interesting that nobody else with Holly or
Idea.
Lily have been doing. Yeah, he's back.
She didn't like my idea, apparently.
I-
She
I-
kicked you right out.
Fine.
She's like,
right?
out you go.
Tell me now. Last week, I know you lost my audio, but it's good now, right?
That happened
Yeah,
to me
that's always
actually
sounding good,
earlier.
yeah.
I lost the audio myself. I think that's a new live webinar feature is audio dropping.
Well, no, it's a unique Robert feature. It's like, okay, Robert.
No, it happened to Adele last week, so it happened to me this week.
That's true. We'd never do that to Adele. But Dean's doing great because he's scheduling the podcast, so he's getting ahead of himself by 2 to 4 because he's doing a bi-weekly one.
Oh yes, I've got him back.
Yeah. So it just makes it kind of interesting because now it's like, okay, those are already in the hopper forward. It's kind of, Lily tends to do what Holly does, which is just send it to me the week she wanted to broadcast it. So it's kind of neat that Dean's taking advantage of the scheduling thing of it, which is pretty cool. All said and done, Mr. Robert, you gave a nasty Friday the 13th foreboding list. Thanks for the really
That was kind of
downer statistics of gloom, doom, death, and despair. Thank you for that.
What were those?
That was in the precursor to the
Just
links.
oh, so you don't read the news. Okay.
No, just I didn't want it like shoved right there, of guess what? Look at our stats compared to everybody else in the world and how bad we are.
Yeah, well, it's you look at the U.S. Mortality rate from COVID, and it's only 250x that of China's. So.
Yeah, that's sad stuff. Very sad stuff.
And I think if people start arguing, well, they aren't reporting accurate, it's like, let's just stop right there, shall we?
Yeah.
That's a little bit over a margin of error thing. So
Yeah.
It's really odd that our businesses are opening and things are moving more and more, but we're also getting worse in terms of our health crisis.
Oh no, but that's why. There's a spectrum that you have a choice. You either have public health, beneficial public health outcomes, or you have a bunch of economic activity, right? Because when you look at San Francisco at the beginning had very strict lockdowns and hotel occupancy plummeted to 5%. But they did pretty well, sort of thing from a public health outcome. So you've got to figure out as a society, where do you want this to go? But my theory, and then in my little newsletter, I basically kind of jokingly said, well, Thanksgiving's coming up, so everyone obviously knows if you're going to go meet with friends and loved ones, you needed to start your quarantine, your kind of pre-event quarantine yesterday.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it kind of goes a little bit. Here's the thing that I'm worried
Yeah.
about. Thanksgiving is kind of brought it to the forefront as to friends and family, as to you're comparing notes as to who and what is doing what level of safety. When you're talking about getting together, some of the questions that are being infused into that is, what do you do for distancing? What do you do? Do you go shopping? Do you go out with friends? Do you go to public areas, or do you go inside places that have people? These questions are coming up because you're trying to put them on some sort of scale as to how you relate to them, and then that then determines whether or not you're willing to get together. Like, okay, if I get together with you, we got to be on the opposite sides of the room or outdoors or whatever, or you know what, not at all, because you're just out and about hugging and kissing, and I don't know what you're doing compared to others. That comes back to us from a marketing perspective, because if we're pushing hotels or pushing marketing about coming to the hotels and staying with us and doing certain things while you're at the hotels, that pushback can get where from people begin to rebound going, hey, what are you doing? you're feeding the problem.
Right.
By promoting people to come. There's a bit of a rubber band effect to this. We have to be very careful about in our messaging with marketing, because if we go too hard with the look at us, look at the great rates, look at what you can do, you're going to get those people. They're going to turn into vigilantes, and say you're creating more of the problem. You're not helping yourself. You're short-term losing.
Right.
It is a dangerous edge.
All I can say is go Pfizer.
Yeah.
And build some darn big refrigerators, damn it.
Yeah, that's going to be the interest. The logistics of the distribution are going to be
Pfizer and anybody else. Bring them all.
But again, I wound up having a close. My daughter went and visited her boyfriend in Wisconsin, right? So I picked her up from the airport. We're wearing our masks. Everything is good. The next day, she was coming over to watch the election returns, right? And so all of a sudden, complete boom, both of us, because we're both like emotionally invested in the election and this is going to be good. We're going to watch it together, which would be kind of the first time we've done that. And we're about 2 hours in, sitting next to each other on the sofa going, oh crap, we aren't wearing masks. And lo and behold, 2 days later, her boyfriend is, diagnosed with COVID, which he got from his mom, and they were being very, very careful, but the mom got it from a trusted friend who, again, there was kind of this little oopsie lapse sort of thing that they both didn't realize.
Friends, you feel
and that's it. You feel safe. Yeah. You feel,
and you don't want to be that rude person that says, Renee, love her to death. She goes over and she's like, you wear a mask regardless. We're going to see anybody for any reason whatsoever. Like, we had dropped some stuff off to a friend because they needed some stuff. And we're walking around like we're going through a hazmat area, and we felt weird because they're good friends. I mean, obviously, here's something you need, but it's also we can't really put ourselves. I mean, we're 7 months into this, 8 months really. Yeah. It's like at this point we're in for a penny in for a pound. It's like we're going to go through this entire process as remote as we've been and tried to be this entire time. Plus, also, we don't know who we've been exposed to. We might be, handing it off. Right. So.
Well, and it should be that if you wear a mask. I mean, when you go to Japan, you go to Singapore, anything. When people are sick or anything like that, they always wear a mask, right? It's very common culturally, and it's kind of like I'm caring about you by doing this is kind of the symbolism of it.
Well, a lot of them
didn't quite catch on here.
No. One hotel front desk person told the story that she. Had a person came into the hotel without a mask, despite the fact that there are signs everywhere before you enter, you must have a mask. Obviously, his confirmation also said it in the website, etc. Yeah. Comes up to the desk and she gives them a mask and says, you are required to wear a mask anytime you're in the hotel. Mm-hmm. And so he takes it. And then 2 hours later, or whatever it was, walks back into the hotel without a mask and said, at the plexiglass, kind of goes over to the side. So he's not even he's trying to get around the plexiglass without his mask, and says, can you give me a new key? I don't know where I put my key. And she says, you have to put on your mask. And she goes to get him another one. And she said, okay, but just give me the key and I'll be out of your hair. Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do with these people?
You need to say you need to leave and have the general manager come down and go, we have rules and this is it. And if they start screaming, you go, I'm really sorry. You're being reckless. We've got to protect our employees. We've got to protect our other guests. That is our duty of care that we've signed up to. You got to go. And stick by it. And, I will go kill you on TripAdvisor and scream and yell. And it's like, well, yep, go ahead.
Costco decided that there is no exceptions.
Absolutely.
There shouldn't be.
My sister works at a Trader Joe's and she has actually had to call the police 5 times to remove people from the store.
Yeah. Wow. And because if you don't take it seriously, why should they take it seriously?
Yeah. Right.
And you know what else I hate? Sometimes somebody in a mask, you've got a mask and they've got a mask. And then suddenly they decide they want to tell you something and they pull down their mask.
South Park.
South Park
does
did
the
it
best term.
perfectly.
It's a chin diaper.
Chin
It's a chin diaper. Yeah.
Chin diaper.
Well, and I love how like they're like, you need to put it on your face. Why would I want to put a diaper over my mouth?
Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm changing doctors. One of my doctors that I'm going to simply because she shows up for the appointment late, which is mostly doctors anyway. But her mask is down just barely over her mouth.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're a freaking doctor. I'm in a doctor's office. Sick people come here. Why are you just half-assed with a mask? You know, it's like
Actually, to be fair, most doctors' offices don't allow you to come in if you have any of the symptoms of COVID.
true.
Yeah.
But
So-
for those who may not have symptoms and still have it,
Right.
you know, you're still faced with that kind of possibility, or you're coming in because
So-
you're feeling different about something
Well,
else.
and
I know I'm late. Did you give the introduction to whoever this new person is on the show? I don't recognize.
Oh yes, the some debonair golf instructor microphone dude. Yeah, we
Yeah.
did. We acted shocked and awe.
Does he work in the hospitality industry?
Somewhere close to it. He
I'm a
hangs around some big dogs.
commentator. Yes,
Yeah.
we're here on the 17th screen.
Here's- It's nice
Yes,
to see you,
I mean-
Robert.
It's nice to see you too. Hey, I actually, speaking of golf, did you guys see that crazy golf shot? I am not a golfer.
Across
right?
the water.
On the water.
Across the water.
I
Yeah.
realize, and I'm a crappy golfer, but I can top the ball when I tee off, certainly. I can hit it into the water, and I can hit it about 45 degrees to the right of where I'm intending. I just never put all three things together before. So that's why I'm not a
actually-
pro.
So a couple of years ago, Tiger Woods was playing the Bay Hill Invitational, and on one of the holes that has like this lake that most of the pro golfers shoot over the lake. All of us horrible golfers just put around the lake, basically. Well, he did this great shot. It looked amazing, and just buried itself in the mud right at the edge of the lake. I was there the next week playing, and I hit it the same exact way, except it was
There
my
you go.
third shot to get to that part of the lake. And so I'm as good as Tiger Woods.
In my mind, sure. Yeah.
Hey,
Oh, good.
Let me
The
tell you
best part of that golf shot where he hit it over that lake and it skipped across the water, goes in for a hole in one, and everything, is that when it's all done, he stood there and looked like that's exactly the way I planned it.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's how you have to sell it, right? Like,
I mean, no, not a question in his mind. That's exactly
I
how
actually
it
think that it would have been more fun to listen to the dialogue of watching the ball get back up on the ground, begin to roll. What they're saying between each other, like the oh no way, no, you got to be kidding. You know, you got to imagine what they're saying as they're watching the ball roll.
oh yeah.
Anyway,
Say at the Byron Nelson Golf Classic when it was held at the Four Seasons here in Dallas, Sabre had this probably the best hole. They had a nice hospitality tent. It was right on a lake, and you could see him go. And then the tee box to the next tee was right there, so you could stand, 15 feet away. And Byron Nelson had like some of the largest galleries of any tournaments.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
I thought it was me at first. I was
Robert,
like,
we lost you.
your commentator headset has lost connectivity
Yeah, I
with
think
its
I
satellite.
don't think it's the software. I think it's the hardware. But hey, going to something totally different real quickly. Yesterday, Milestone launched their mostly all day
Yeah.
Engage program. And kudos to them on lots of things. First, the content was exceptional. And I commented to Tammy on some things, and she might actually join us today. But also kudos on who they brought on the show. It was a really nice mix of well-known and people that were really good at what they did, but they don't get the chance to talk about it very often.
Nice.
And I mean international people. And it's one of these things where you listen to them and you can sense the accent, but I applaud anybody who is speaking not in their native language, explaining something hard. Honest to goodness, that is, I mean, it's like telling a joke in a foreign language. If you can explain a highly technical or highly complex issue of something in another language that's not your native language, that's impressive. You know,
I got to be
regardless
honest
of the
with
accent
you.
or whatever it is,
If you can speak in another language that's not your language, I find that impressive.
Yeah, me too. I'm like, because I have a hard enough time with English, as everyone knows. So,
Yes.
second language is not a good thing for me anyway. But
That's
yeah, they had some
hilarious.
really good speakers from other places that really knowledgeable of what they're talking about, and in my mind didn't have enough time to really convey everything that they could have. I'm hoping that they come back with another version of this, because there's God knows enough white noise garbage out there. There's just so much stuff out there that's rhetoric, and you can read it anywhere. And now somebody wants to put something together and show it. So, anyways, I just want to make sure I threw that in. That congratulations to Milestone for pulling off an exceptionally good. At first, I was a little skeptical, like, wow, this is an all day thing. I don't know how that's going to go, but I was fun being able to pop in and out and catch it, and catch certain presenters and so forth. Robert, are you back? Nope, nada.
Well, you know what? I wanted to also share that HSMA just came out with, let me just copy it and put it into the notes. 1 second. There I am. I'm going to put it into the notes. They published from 2019 the best practices that they pulled together from some of the very top winning Adrian Awards winners. And what you get when you're a judge like me, I judge the awards year after year. It is one of the best experiences, even though it's time consuming. You get to look at the problem, the situational analysis that a particular hospitality business is in. You get to see, what are the challenges? What are the goals they have in mind? What's the strategy? How they executed it, and what were the results? And hopefully they'll tell you the cost as well. And when you're judging, you are assigned to do maybe 30 of these evaluations. But sometimes, if you have time, you do 60 because it's just it's so fascinating. Believe me, the experience of judging just fills your mind with so much food for thought, and it just feeds you. And I just love it so much that I wanted to give that link to some best practices from the 2019 award winners, but the Platinum Award winners. But I also want to give the application link, because if you've been in the business for many years, as many of us have, here is the link.
Well, I'm pretty sure my website will not qualify.
If you have been in the business for years, you can fill out that application, and you're giving to your community by serving HSMAI, but you're also really gaining so much for yourself. I absolutely love it and recommend it to anyone.
I wish HSMAI would do a platinum, like a handful of platinums for lower budget campaigns. I mean, I love seeing the platinums every year, and they're really great campaigns. The challenge is a lot of them tend to be only campaigns that could be pulled off by massive companies because of how much went into them, when in reality you look at some of these campaigns that were done, like in this list, the James was the only one that was a small campaign, and it was a really good campaign. But you look at the rest of these campaigns, they can be pulled off at a smaller scale, and that should be celebrated. Like there should be, I think there should be a category of platinums that come in under $10,000 in spend, right? Like,
sounds good.
Like I really think I think it would also celebrate the wider array of our industry. I mean, so the majority of the industry of HSMAI members aren't, running, billion-dollar companies. They're running hotels or collections of hotels, smaller efforts, and they're doing really good things. I would love to see HSMAI celebrate that by having a couple of platinum awards set aside for the smaller scale, really brilliant stuff that's done.
I think that's a splendid idea.
Thanks.
Robert, can we hear you now?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Fire Firefox instead of Chrome. We'll try this. See
There
how
we
long
go.
it-
Try that. Yeah.
Hey,
So,
we have
and I was
Alan
going to-
Young is watching today. I just
Hey,
noticed
Alan.
that.
Hi, Alan.
He's
Where
the
you
only Alan from the Barrie, Canada area. So
Exactly.
Please elaborate on
No,
your
I was
point
going to
you
say
used
on
this morning.
the Platinum Awards, though, the only ones that are eligible for Platinums are anything that was basically a gold from all the people who judged it, right? So
yeah,
if you're a Platinum judge, yeah, you've got that assortment. That's it. So
right. But I mean,
yeah.
there's a lot of smaller budget gold
Oh, yeah.
winners. I
Absolutely.
mean, there are. I would imagine each year there's at least
Oh, yeah.
50 lower budget gold winners, and I would love to see. I'd love to see those
a
make it
low-budget
to the main stage, right? Like, let's celebrate those who pulled off something that had the scale of a $500,000 or $1 million budget behind it would have been celebrated, but because it didn't have that budget behind it, it doesn't rise as easily. Like, I see why these are picked. These are all great, really thoughtful, big campaigns that made big impact. I want the little guy. I like the little guy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the other
Hey-
ones that I wanted knocked out of the Platinum thing were all the ones from large agencies, which you could tell were
The agency
essentially
submitted it.
They were templating these
Yeah.
whole things, so
Oh,
you
yeah.
could see there was nothing unique about this. They just went blop 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 and blurped it out.
Yeah, they just
six-
shotgunned it into multiple
6 times.
categories.
with horrible metrics and just nada. And every once in a while,
Oh,
those
you're
will
being
sneak through
generous.
and-
Some of them didn't have any metrics at all.
well, they had their phone number in there, Lauren. Those aren't.
Oh,
Those
good
are
point.
numbers.
Listen, Alan, in your fan base, Robert, like, did you plant Alan in
Yes.
today's conversation? Is that what you did? You said, "Hey, Alan, throw a bone." He wants you to elaborate on your 2020 year of patience.
He's trying to make me feel bad because he sent me an email like a week or two ago, which I just realized I missed it and I saw it yesterday and I didn't. I did not reply because I was pretty busy. So I'll get back to you on that. That's why he's doing that.
Alan,
no,
whatever you do, don't get on a phone call with Robert though, unless you have a full day.
Yeah, he's done that before. Yeah, it's happened.
You feel enlightened
so-
afterwards, that's for sure. But I do.
Yeah,
I do
my
have a question.
assessment is, 2020 was the year of fear and loathing, and my guess is 2021 will be a year of patience.
Oh,
Because you're just gonna have to hang in there and be patient for
The vaccine.
things to happen.
He's
across
asking why,
everywhere.
Robert.
Why?
because
Why?
Because you're going to have to be patient on the distribution of the vaccine. It's going to be out there, and then you're going to have to. People are going to have to be patient to get it, and then be patient to get their second injection after the first one, and be patient with all the people who don't want to take it because God knows what misinformation is going to be out there to make half or a third of the people not want to take it, which is just going to prolong the problem.
We are a society that wants instant gratification. I am not patient.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's going to require, and so then the other side of it is it's going to be very interesting for all the patient money sitting on the sidelines wanting to invest in hotels and distressed assets and things like that to see when that all comes swooping in.
You
Because
bring
so
up an
far it's been still waiting.
well, part of that's not because they're not trying. It's they really are. The deals aren't there yet. Pricing really hasn't come down too much on properties from what they were before all of this. And I know that because I actually have been helping a friend of mine who does the asset acquisition for a large firm that has predominantly for years been in the apartment, kind of complex type buy. And I help them, get connected with a company that can help them look at properties and all of that. And the pricing has not moved as much as you would think. Based
I
on
know that what has moved with it though is the assumption of debt. The price may not have changed, but the assumption of debt may have turned flexible because some of these properties, like in New York, for Adele's conversation a couple of weeks ago, they're allowing you to pick up the property at price we could negotiate it, but the debt structure isn't being conveyed in its entirety. So, I mean, because some of these things, like to Robert's articles, even today, some of these big movies and shakes are opportunistic, like the Napa Valley acquisition. That's pretty profound. That you look at Marriott and you have to kind of scratch your head. It's like there's some properties that are no longer in the portfolio or may not remain in the portfolio that are pretty benchmark properties. I mean, those were pretty profound properties that had a great flag on them, or were good for the flag above them, that are maybe not going to stay that way, kind of thing. I also, just to Robert, your point about in 2021, we just had an earlier conversation when we first started the show about the levels of travel capabilities and the running the fine edge where you can promote yourself too hard and get a flashback of people that may not be happy with you. 2021 might turn into reverse, which is the guilting of, is there opportunity for those that are willing to take the risk to do the travel, to do the business, and those that aren't, won't? Or is it going to be a kind of a, oh, well, you're not going to go to the conference? Well, I'm going to the conference. First time you get to go back to the conference, and you miss opportunities because you're not going. How fast will virtual get dropped out of that equation? Or is it going to be a blend between virtual and first person? I mean, there's going to be a whole mess of variables, I think, that are going to change how people want or are willing to travel based on all that, too. Damn it.
You have to ditch the headset.
You know what it is? I just keep muting him.
Robert. It's been so long since you dusted off the headset, dude. That's probably what it is.
Yeah.
Took it off the shelf and had to dust it off.
Well, I mean, I'm surprised he was able to get a 1970s headset to connect to a computer.
If you get hot wires, it all works out. I just found out, by the way, Mr. Ed, that Dean has a Quest 1. So he's going to join us on Population 1.
Oh, are you on that too?
And
Lauren's trying to push me into virtual reality.
I was at Machu Picchu last night.
The apps on that are incredible.
Wow.
You can tour. I've toured the pyramids of Egypt. Lauren, if you haven't done it yet, get the free Solo mini movie app, because that is terrifying. I mean, you are climbing that mountain in Yosemite. I forget what that's called, but I mean, they took drones around him, and you are there climbing the mountain.
Yeah, there's some scary stuff. I went to Angel Falls in Venezuela, and at first I'm looking, it's like, oh, those are pretty falls. And I look up, I'm like, whoa! And then they flew up the falls. I'm like, geez, admittedly, this is crazy. But honestly, from a business perspective, just to flip over to this, there's new platforms. There's one called Engage, and you can go to a classroom, because there's different levels of engagement. There's a conference one that's pretty cool. It's like going to an AMC movie theater. You can go into which presentation you want to and what have you. Then there's one that's more personable, where you can just join like internal meetings and share whiteboards and computer screens and all this other stuff. And then there's this one called Engage, where you can actually go to a classroom and participate in a class or be the presenter of a class, where you can bring in a whiteboard or a chalkboard. It's like literally going to college and having a 3 blackboard kind of thing and all this other stuff. And it's really interesting because of the engagement level opportunities they allow you to have. Can you raise your hand? Can you talk? Can you work with them, or just you're there watching kind of thing? And I think there's going to be a whole growth opportunity of 3D, or they're not 3D, but the 360-degree cameras placed in certain places now to allow for remote viewing. I think the NFL is going to drag this in, because God knows soccer already has it. You can go watch soccer games right from the goal net. I mean, it's crazy. It's like you're standing beside the goal net while they're playing the game, and you're like, this is insane at a regular eye level. So there's lots of, and plus the entry gateway now, $299 is nothing to sneeze at, but my gosh, these things were sitting at $8,000 to $1,000 for the longest time.
Yeah, the Oculus Rift is still $1,200.
Yeah, at worst resolution. Plus, you had to be tethered to a computer, and the computer had to be of a certain level. Here now, these goggles, the ones I got, everything runs off the goggle connected to Wi-Fi. I can plug it into a computer if I want to, but it's just crazy what you can do. So, anyway, that's my VR pitch today.
It's still super nerdy.
That sounds fun.
Oh, it's a blast! It's a blast. I'm going to be doing some business research this afternoon.
Business research.
The Star Wars series, Vader Immortal, is.
You can fight with a lightsaber, for gosh sake! What are you doing?
Dojo.
Yeah. Oh, you do the same thing. I go to the dojo and shoot the little.
Yeah,
No, we're not.
You guys are so cool. You
Yeah.
guys are so cool.
I bought it for my son, by the way, just for the record.
Oh yes, 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 yes.
It was one of those types of gifts.
I don't
Yeah.
I don't have
This
that
is
excuse.
really
I bought
for
it
you.
You know what my wife has given me? She made me take one of the little swivel chairs we have extra here at the office and bring it home. I sit in a dark second bedroom in the middle, spinning around on a chair playing a game. She won't even let me sit in the living room anymore. She's like, no, you make too much noise. Go over there.
Okay, so
Anyway,
on
meanwhile-
other news, just I was on a call this week with someone who watches the show on a regular basis. I couldn't believe it. I actually met someone who's not on the show who watches the show on a regular basis. Can you believe it? Like, and actually said they liked it. So you know,
they're just
our
being
market
nice.
research is showing that people like the show.
Wow.
Yes, I actually also chatted with someone who I didn't know before who said that they loved the show. So that was good.
There is needles in the haystack.
Well, I also so shout out to Rupesh if you're listening.
Ah.
I mean, it's catching on. People watch it. You know, episodes like this probably don't do much for us in the way of.
Yeah, we haven't really done much about hospitality marketing, so we should just dive into the yes.
One of Robert's articles showed the Peninsula Hotel, the hotel group, I should say, decided after testing a program at Beverly Hills that they would expand it on January 1st to the whole company, which is that you can check in anytime and check out anytime. On your day of arrival, of course, check in, and day of departure, not like 5 days later. And it will not cost you more. And that is all the article said. And I mean, anybody who's ever run a hotel knows that cannot possibly quite work that way, because you can't have somebody check out of a room at 10 p.m. and have somebody else check into that room at 6 a.m. because it's their arrival day.
Well,
I went to the Beverly Hills Hotel, the Peninsula Beverly Hills website, and they said that they have a 24-hour space between guests. So in that case, if you're keeping that cushion in, which is not sustainable for the long term, I don't think, unless you're charging more.
the
At 50%
Peninsula,
occupancy it is.
the Peninsula Group, which are in cities that
Mhm.
generally are not probably going to have them sold out on a regular basis
Right.
for at least the next 12 plus months. They can pull it off until their demand comes back. Because I'm also going to guess that they're not revenue managing down because they are the Peninsula Group. So I'm sure they're not running occupancies that would be a problem for this. And even if they do it for a year, how many potential new loyalists, just because, you know what, on this trip I know I'm going to be showing up super early and the Peninsula is not charging, all right, I'll do the Peninsula, because you know I was going to do a hotel of this price point, but I was going to have to pay or have to wait. I mean, for a year it could be a good kind of program for them. It's one that, yes, I agree with you, when things get back to functioning business, they're probably going to move away from that.
Yeah. Even if you're doing it in hard times, sometimes you only have a limited number of certain types of rooms. So if you only have 5 suites of this kind, and that is what people have booked, you may still have 100% occupancy or high occupancy on those rooms, which is going to still make that a bit of a challenge. But you know, I mean, I hear you. You're doing something positive for the guests, and it may be just that thing that will get them to switch from a St. Regis or a Ritz-Carlton or Mandarin Oriental.
And what they're not telling you is well, you can check out at any time or check in at any time. Until the actual time you're supposed to be there happens, the room is powerless. No electricity.
I'd like to ask you a question. And tell me if this statement sounds true. If I pay more for a hotel room, I can demand more for safety.
No.
There's a perception of that.
I mean, when you say it, if it's true, do people believe that? Yes.
Do you think that's a valid statement to make? If I'm dropping into a Peninsula hotel, I can expect demand. I want plexi, I want distance, I want masks, I want hand sanitizer, I want ultra cleaning surface contact, I want package delivery, I want, because I'm paying for this extra caliber access compared to welcome to Motel 6, here's your glued on remote in the room, please don't move it because it's already glued down to the desk. You know, can you demand? Do you think you can demand more because you're paying more?
Well, I got to be honest. The things you just listed, I expect from pretty much any hotel north of $100 ADR. So
lesser you don't demand it?
Even less than 100.
I mean,
if you walk into a $69 room hotel, you're lucky that there's plexi up, or lucky that they're not picking their nose when they sign the card. What?
well, first of all, I mean, let's be honest. I think hotels have understood that they need to make it discoverable. What are the expectations of your experience? I don't think someone walks into a Peninsula off the street to stay. I imagine that's not that type of purchase for them. So I expect what the hotel tells me, what my expectation should be, but I wouldn't book a hotel that didn't have some level of here's what we're doing, for you, and so I think the challenge is your connotation is I didn't know what was going to be there when I made my decision. Therefore, I should just automatically assume that I'm getting something, where I think most are, making that as part of their purchase decision on whether or not the level that they care about is present. I don't think anyone's just assuming without looking if they care about it, right?
Okay. Let me, because to me, the reason why I wanted was the second question is, does that mean if I'm off asking for lower rates because of depression and demand to market, and I'm competing with people that are dropping the rates, and I'm trying to keep market liquid as to what rates I'm asking for, I go below a certain threshold, does that put me in jeopardy of being perceived as not caring about these things as much as if you were paying more to stay with me?
I don't.
And if that's the case, should you be heightened as to making sure you overtly describe, to your point, what I'm doing to make you feel safe? Like if you walked in the Peninsula and there's no masks and no plexi and no distancing, would that not be more of a shocker than if you walked into a $59, $69 room hotel? You'd think, wow, this is odd. Why wouldn't they be?
I think at this point, I'd be shocked if I walked into an open hotel that didn't have some level of procedure.
I do think that super luxury brands like Peninsula are more devoted to their brand standards than they are to making money at the present moment. Like they're more interested in that. I don't even know how the ownership goes or how the shareholder things goes, but I don't think that they're obsessed with the P&L statement as much as, for example, an individual owner of an individual hotel that's making their decisions based on this is how much I have, this is how much I can spend, I'm taking in less than I'm spending. It's just a different equation. It's much more our brand is the most important thing to us, I think, when you're staying at that kind of a hotel. Okay. So they will spend more money. What's
the likelihood of enforcing guests to wear masks and keep distance if I'm walking in as a Peninsula guest? I'm picking up Peninsula. It could be any high-end, the Ritz, anybody you want to pick of that caliber. How likely am I going to kick you out as a guest if you're not following what I've asked everybody to participate in with mask and distancing?
I don't think economy plays a role in the difference of what should be expected and what should be done here. You think?
I think there is.
Really?
I think if I'm
$400.
walking in and dropping a few $100 per night, and I
Yeah.
don't want to wear a mask, I don't think the staff's going to push hard on me.
I worked at the Adolphus Hotel. That was my first job out of college at in Texas, and I'll tell you what, they declined people to come into the French room for dinner if you did not have your tie.
Well, tie and jacket. There's a protocol to some.
Yeah.
By the same token, we're talking about whether they stay or don't stay. Am I really going to just?
Well,
if I'm
all
dropping
right.
that
Let's
kind of money-
back this up one step here. If you're in a location that the government has ruled that there is a mandate that something is upheld, regardless of your price point, you should be enforcing your government mandates. Now, if we're going into some place that there is no government mandate for masks and you're asking, should you enforce something that isn't a government mandate at that price point, I think it's kind of up to you and what you're deciding. And we've had this conversation before, but if it's a government mandate, it's a government mandate. Like, I don't see why.
I've
price
seen
point-
businesses and government mandated places that refuse. I mean, there's places north of us
Right,
that
but
has
they're
mask
also-
mandate,
if
and
they're
there's stores
open
that
about
aren't
that,
enforcing it.
if they're open about that and transparent about that and telling people that's the decision they've taken to have that type of clientele. And same thing, like, other side of it, if you're saying I'm giving you a safe environment and as part of that I'm enforcing these things, then that's what you should follow through with, regardless of amount spent. Like, if you made it your thing because you've attracted people to your business on the premise that you're going to do things to keep them safe, which includes requiring people to do things. So, I think it's really, what have you decided as a business, and what expectation have you set with your clientele? And if you haven't set expectation, that's where your mistake is. So if you're a super high-end hotel that hasn't set an expectation on what's going to go on with masks and stuff, then yeah, you know what? You really have no place to enforce. But I also think it's foolish to not set an expectation. Make a choice.
I'm not trying to justify it. I'm not trying to validate it. And I'm not trying to certainly endorse it. But I think, and just even if you flip it to a retail perspective and personas and so forth, if I'm dropping $30,000 to buy a new Harley motorcycle and I don't want to wear a mask when I buy it, are they really going to kick me out? If I go to a high-end hotel,
see, you're skipping a point here, which is, what did the business decide?
They could have a law, they could have a rule, but it's me and that person or those people. Are they really going to? Because what I'm trying to boil down to is the amount of money, the expectation of what you should be wanting or demanding. The more it's kind of historical for us. The more somebody spends, the more entitled they feel. No kidding. You go into any high-end hotel and somebody throws a hissy about the fact that their coffee is 2 degrees colder than they like it. Sure. I'm sorry, but that happens every day in a Motel 6 when you're walking out the door.
But I think you're in a very different, you're wading into very different waters here, and you're wading into waters where we need to answer the question and the question is did you set the expectation? Because if I paid $30,000 to come in here for the night, and someone else paid $30,000 to come in here for the night, and you lured the other person under the guise that there were going to be safety protocols, and I'm refusing to follow those safety protocols, who are you going to make mad? You're going to make one of them mad.
It happens every day in every hotel. It doesn't make $30,000 spend. It takes a $50 spend, $100 spend. The point of it being, to what you've said earlier, Ed, was what rule are you going to enforce, and where's your tolerance of it? Everybody has a price of what they're willing to accept or not accept to that end. And Adele, I mean, you deal with consumer sentiment all the time. You're dealing with consumer feedback all the time. You have those people that throw a tantrum about something that you're looking at and going, really? This is what you're upset about? But you've got to treat it differently and put yourself in those mindsets as to what you're going to do to solve their issue. Ed, you bring a great point out. I have two people. They're both spending the same wicked amount of money or whatever money, and one's doing the opposite of the other. How do you appease both? Do you separate and playdicate, or do you concede, or what do you do? These are real things that are happening right now on a whole different level about this safety issue.
Yeah.
And I think money has something to do with it.
Stand up and say, to Ed's point, because what we're asking is, at what point can you buy yourself out of the regulation? At what point can I have it my own way because I paid enough money? But to Ed's point too, as a business, whether it be a hotel or any other business, you have to set here's my threshold. Here's where we draw the line, and we say this is the policy, and then you have to stand by that policy, whatever that policy may be, for or against, and it can be both ways, by the way. But then once it's done that, let's say your policy is, okay, we absolutely have to do this. Literally, when somebody complains about it, you actually have to be almost open and transparent about it. Say, yeah, look, this guy complained about it and we stood our ground anyway, and here's what it is. Because now that takes the people that agree with you and makes them feel like, okay, this is the right place I want to do business with.
Right.
Yeah, but it has to be done with compassion and everything. But, you know, look at the White House. Now,
I won't go there.
they decided that they didn't, that at their level, they don't have to wear a mask. And everybody's got COVID.
Yep. But at the same time, none of them should complain about it because they all decided that they weren't going to wear masks.
You would think.
Right. And that's, and I'm okay with that. Like, if there's a hotel that wants to say there are no masks here,
Right.
and they're doing that because they want to attract the people,
And then you have to own it.
then you own it.
Right.
And like, that's it. And if someone comes in and complains, you say, listen, we had it up everywhere that this is a no mask to serve people who don't want to have masks. You know, sorry. But again, it starts with setting the expectation in the purchase of what's going to happen here, and then sticking with that expectation.
But it's never going to work in the long term, because if you look at take COVID out of the picture for a minute, just think about smoking versus non-smoking establishments. For a long time, those that said, hey, there was an attraction to each one of those. I'm a smoker and I like that business that says I'm going to allow smoking. Or I'm the non-smoker and I like that business that says I'm going to allow non-smoking. Well, sooner or later, though, the two can't play in the same sandbox anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, you can't really have a place that's that's this is okay to be smoking when you have staff that have to serve that, and now they're risking harming their lives by taking that in.
Going back to your analogy, so says the Secret Service. They had to watch the fools that did that too. They didn't have a choice.
But that's part of the repercussions of the choice that you make as a business. Like, if you are going to make a choice as a business that you want to serve people who absolutely refuse to wear masks, well, I mean, at that point, you're going to have to go through hoops to protect your employees. You can protect your employees in that situation by making sure that they're not within a close distance of the guests and that they have correct PPE and all of that stuff. But again, I really think it all starts with the sales. The expectation made at the time of purchase is what you should stick with throughout the whole experience. And if someone chose to say that, I don't care that you set this expectation and I'm moving on, I'm sorry. Like, we have dealt with this with smoking, non-smoking. There is a penalty for smoking in a non-smoking room. There's a penalty for coming into a business that has wholeheartedly embraced masks and trying not to wear a mask. And we just, as a society, regardless of what you spend, that decision needs to be, you need to think about it as a business in the front end of it, and then you need to stick and live with it or convert if you decide to course correct. But there is no living in both worlds.
But here's the other catch to that too: the whole non-smoking. How many years did it take for just about every business or every community to say we're non-smoking? That wasn't something that happened in 6 months.
No,
that was a 10-year process.
And let me amp up the discussion. You get a group lock-in of something that's going on. You mandate, hey, we got to wear masks and so forth and so on. This is making payroll for you, okay? And then the first thing that they do when they get into your meeting space and whatever else like this is, everybody take the masks off. Don't worry about it. Where are you? Or what are you going to do? You going to kick out the 100 people? You're going to not make payroll. You're going to stand the ground, or you're just going to lock the door off and say no staff goes in. Sorry,
Yeah, but
guys.
you can't waver. I mean, you have to pick a path, and like you this is where the issues you're talking about come from. You not making a decision completely, right?
No,
So
it's right in front of them. You made them sign. It's all done, but they
right,
made a choice.
and then you enforce it. And by the way, if you're really enforcing it, you should also tell them that, hey, by the way, if you don't follow these procedures, you will be gone, but we're keeping your money.
Dude, I can directly tell you, going back to the smoking incidents of a non-smoking event, signed, sealed, and contracted, and the frickers go over and start lighting up in the middle of my conference room.
And you didn't have something in your contract that said if they
brought
did?
the police in to get them out,
Okay.
and they just said, "Mm-mm. Nope." I even fined them. I doubled their costs, and they said,
Right.
"Fine."
Okay.
And I had to spend that much money that I had to charge them extra for to get the stench out of the room.
Right, but you built a process to support what the expectation is, what the penalty is for not following the expectation. Then you did what you needed
Yeah, but
to
I'm dealing with
do.
lives now. I'm not dealing with bad odor. I'm
Dude.
dealing with exposing my staff.
It's the same thing. If you have to pick what your rules are going to be, you have to build penalties for not following the rules, and then you need to stand up and make those rules happen. If you waver, if you're introducing this, well, what if there's an opportunity to waver? Well, then you're just going to be in a bad situation.
I know I'm making extreme what if comments. I hate what ifs and so
No,
forth.
you don't. You love
Mine's
what
a
ifs.
real
That's
one.
all you ever put out there is what ifs.
But the one thing is that we're not dealing with bad smell in a room. We're dealing with potentially one of my staffers getting sick and serious repercussions from that. And yes, you can seal your staff away from it and what have you. You still can't totally secure them away from that, because even if you kick them out of the room, even if you do everything that you're supposed to do and the police cart them away, somebody's going in that room and got to clean it. Somebody's got to be exposed to whatever BS that they ended up doing, or you have to hire a company that comes in the whole hazmat thing, whatever it is. I completely agree with you, and I'm not arguing the opposite of the point. Yes, you have to stand your ground. You have to put a line that says, this is what we do, this is why we do it, this is how we do it, and if you break that line, these are the repercussions from it, so forth and so on. But there's real world, small microcosms of this. The one that Adele said that comes in without the mask and sticks their head around the plexi. How rude do you get by saying, get the off, back up, get out of the freaking door, put on a goddamn mask, and then come back and ask me the stupid question? How far do you push this?
Yes,
And then how far does that detriment your business?
especially because some dangerous situations have come up for our staff members. Not necessarily hotels, but people have been shot.
Mm-hmm.
Bus
Joshua
was beaten.
Josh had a nice little dialogue on the side too.
Yeah, well, and I'll give you an exact, I was apprehensive. My wife wanted to take the kids to SeaWorld for trick-or-treating because SeaWorld does really good trick-or-treating, and I was really uncomfortable with it. And I got to tell you, I really enjoyed the fact that every SeaWorld employee, you could tell they were told that if you see someone at all incorrectly wearing a mask, taking the mask off, any of that you immediately jump on them politely and tell them they need to put their mask right. If they're trying to milk the system by walking around with a drink and saying they're drinking, you need to tell them to go stand over there, do not move. You do not move without a mask on. And SeaWorld did it perfectly. The
Really?
park was fairly busy, normal October SeaWorld busy, right? Which it's SeaWorld, they don't get overly busy, but had a lot of people in it. And at no point did I feel unsafe. And all I could hear throughout the whole day was someone telling someone to put their mask on their nose, to do this, to do that. And it was multiple people at the same time. You could just hear it everywhere. It was the conversation happening everywhere. And the bottom line is, they said that was their policy, but they also set up their team that it was very obvious that was their policy throughout the whole day. It was at the forefront that, masks are going to be worn. They're going to be worn correctly. They're going to be worn by everyone. There is no gaming the system. Every employee is telling every person non-complying that they have to comply. And I've told everyone about it. SeaWorld's safe to go to.
Mm-hmm.
SeaWorld is doing it right.
We're all facing this in minor ways. I went and got my eyes checked for the first time. We've delayed our previous appointment just because of what was going on. And here it comes back around when we're going through this massive escalation. But I'm in there and I'm literally watching the eye doctor do mask off while he's doing something on the computer. One of his coworkers goes in, talking to him, pulls the mask down to talk, which to me, again, rationalizes,
Are you
like,
wearing a
where the
mask?
heck are you guys thinking that this is the right way of doing this? And then he's like, okay, come on in. I'm like, oh, brilliant. So I got my mask. I got my little clear glasses on. I go sit down and I take my glasses off to go up to the thing. I says, can you wipe this down? He says, I just wipe it. I says, I'd like to see you do it. I'm sorry. I want you to wipe it in front of me. And then as I go up there, the thing fogs up. He said, well, you gotta take your mask down. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm going to hold my breath. Thanks. It's like, guys, you got to understand this. If you picture this green noxious cloud floating around, that's what people that are susceptible. That's how I look at it. I have risks right now that I have to make sure I'm safe about. And, I don't want to walk into what you're sitting in a small little dinky room, for 8 hours a day, without a mask, talking to somebody else without a mask, thinking that that's a safe environment for you to go walk in and sit down for even 15 minutes on without keeping some sort of protection on. And that's the kind of things that we're facing at the hotels. I saw, I won't say names, one of my clients, they posted a very successful event in which they had a buffet line. I'm like, come on, guys. Yes, everyone was wearing a mask, but everybody's using the same spoons, grabbing from the same stack of plates, grabbing the same pile from the silverware. Think it through.
I mean, to be fair, we now know that surface transmission of the disease is very low.
Biofilm and poop?
Yes, but even that, like, surface transmission is not how you're going to get this.
True, without the proper density and temperature. Absolutely right.
Right. So, your personal feelings versus science. I just want to put that in check here. Science says
I the same weird feeling. Somebody sneezes on the buffet meatballs. I'm just telling you.
Hey, listen, buffets are gross to begin with. I actually feel better about buffets right now because everyone's wearing face masks at least. But bottom line is, like, science is, you got to catch up with science here, Lauren. Like, there's actually nothing wrong by having the buffet. If everyone's wearing a mask, you're okay. Like,
I saw a pretty neat gizmo where there's plastic gloves, and you hit the when you walk up to it, it actually has a sensor, and it blows air into the plastic glove, so it puffs it up, so you can put your hand right into it and pull it out of the holder. And use
good! So it blows COVID into the glove.
No, it has a filter on it too. So, haha.
I was at the grocery store a couple of weeks ago, and someone was wearing a mask and pulled their mask down to sneeze in their hand.
Well, now, in fairness, it's kind of gross to sneeze into your mask.
You know how I sneeze? I'm going to show everybody how I sneeze. Like this. Right into my shirt.
My wife does the same thing. She pulls her shirt up to go sneeze. I'm like, okay, that works.
When I have to sneeze, I find a vacant space that I can go to, and you got about a 10-second lead time. Look around.
You sneeze pretty hard when you sneeze your mask off. That's a pretty heavy sneeze. Anywho, Robert, you gave us a wonderful list, and since you are here with us, and
his audio is still not working.
Oh, good Lord!
No.
Yes, Robert.
First word, 2 syllables sounds like. He's hiding behind the. Okay. Anywho,
he's sneezing now.
He's sneezing now. Yes. And Ed, please, and for everyone listening too, I'm not disagreeing with everything you just said, Ed. I completely agree with you. Stand your ground, create your parameters, and this is what you maintain, regardless of circumstance. I'm just, from my empathy of having faced other aspects of this before and potential aspects of what we see in the news, these environments are coming up, and there's people making these kind of cognitive decisions about, can I allow it? Can I get away with it because it's paying the bills or whatever, or am I going to stand on moral high ground and maybe not make payroll?
Listen, as long as you are consistent in your choice, you will not run into the issues that you're concerned with. So if you're going to be loose on enforcing masks, you need to tell people we're going to be loose on enforcing masks. If you're going to not enforce masks at all, you need to literally put it as we are not enforcing masks. If you are going to enforce the crap out of masks, you need to put that I'm enforcing the crap out of masks. You just need to pick a path,
Pick a lane.
stick
Pick a
with
lane.
it,
I agree.
and correctly communicate the lane you're in, and you will not run into problems that are not like accounted for. Like if you're saying it's masks on your face, nose covered, that's our thing, and if you don't do it, you're going to get harassed and kicked out. That should be clear to everyone before they step foot into your establishment. If you're going to waffle and say, you know what, fine, you're a huge group, you don't want masks, then you know what? You need to tell everyone that's going to be on property at that time that for this week, there is no mask mandate.
I'm going to go back to an old 80s thing where, remember where it says Frankie says? I'm going to make a little sign that says Ed says we enforce the crap out of masks, and just make a little T-shirt like
Do it. but pick a lane and don't like stray from it, and you'll be fine.
And that's now a part of your messaging. It's now a part of your marketing, literally.
Right.
That
Yes.
we do or we don't, whatever it is, but that's who you're selling to.
Yep.
That's your audience. So, yeah.
Yeah, like listen, no masks, open, conceal, carry. That's our motto. You know who you're gonna get then. Like
It's surgeon all over again.
yeah.
And bring your cooler, because gosh knows there can never be enough of those in a hotel room.
Yeah, and check in with flip flops and like those
Robert,
rock shorts. We really love those.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm shaking my head at Robert. He's trying
Adele,
to talk again.
a year from now, you will never notice flip flops again because you now live in the South, where that is the footwear of choice.
I know there's no actual choice to that. It's just really the footwear.
Well, and actually you'll see it as an
This
upgrade.
is what I'm wearing now.
Yeah, see, there you go. You've already gotten into it.
Yeah.
Yes. So, Robert, can you hear us? And
Yeah, but we can't hear
you.
Oh no.
No.
Like
Seriously.
I almost now feel like you're messing with us.
Yeah. Because honestly, you just
We're gonna hear Robert's wife say something to him shortly, and he's gonna be like, "Dang it! I was messing with them."
Right. We can still talk at him.
Yeah, we still talk at him. Hey, Robert, it's good to see you without the big earmuffs, though. You got this kind of thin face, Yeah.
All right.
Anyway,
So to
all
Robert's topics. Let's see here.
There's one article about the 9 key factors driving hotel conversions, which I thought was interesting because it refers to non-marketing aspects that can impact what your hotel can do. We've mentioned, or at least I've done it on the podcast a few times, where there are things that you can do like school pods, day office use with proper Wi-Fi and safety and so forth. But they, in that article, talk about you got to be careful your zoning. Are you allowed these variations to what you've been zoned for? Can you do these things without creating conflict of what your business profile is supposed to be doing? So forth and so on, which I thought was pretty cool article. I'll grab it real quick here. But it was kind of a fun review of some particulars that I hadn't really given strong direct consideration to as to what could be impacting what you could do for your hotel. Because some hotels have gotten very creative, sheltering the homeless, like California, they have that. School pods, which some places in metro areas are doing, so that if there is a breakout with COVID, it doesn't hit the whole school, it hits only the pod. Micro, with the downsizing of office spaces, people are looking for common meeting space, properly distanced, so gathering people because they're no longer around the mothership office, which is a big factor on Future Tense 2021 Robert referral, where there are people going to be changing their modalities as to work. I mean, I don't have to be around the mothership. Maybe I have to show up there once in a while, but in all honesty, I can now live someplace else in the country or out of town.
Can you? So this morning on the news, they were talking about a place in Europe, and forgive me, I didn't write down the name of it, that is trying to figure out a way to tax you because you're working remotely.
Oh, it's Switzerland.
Thank you.
Yes.
Wow.
Wow.
5% tax for
Yeah,
remote
it
work.
wasn't a small amount. It was like $10 a day, which if you take that times 30 days, that's $300.
Because they see the impact on their economy
Yeah.
where the people aren't in the central areas. Wow.
Right? You're not buying gas. You're not using the facilities.
Well, I mean, don't forget a lot of tax for infrastructure is paid for through fuel purchase.
Yeah.
So,
so,
and yeah.
so if you're not buying gas because you're not going anywhere, you're not paying tax, and they need to figure out how to recoup that.
Well, I did know that some companies here.
listening, I will revolt against that.
Yeah. Well, the other one I did notice is that some companies are beginning to redefine what they're paying people salary wise because of them moving to different taxable areas and so forth. For employment taxes, they're actually adjusting their salary compensations based on standard of livings and amount of tax that they have to pay for.
Well, and I think I've seen a lot of that coming out of the Silicon Valley companies that are now allowing remote work, and of course a lot of their employees are fleeing Silicon Valley because of the cost of living, the tax base, and all of that. There have been adjustments based on region on your salary. So basically, you make $250,000 a year in Silicon Valley. We're only going to pay you $100,000 a year in Florida because. That's, and actually it would probably be 80 because of the cost of living in California.
Yeah.
No, I think you're going to see a lot of that come into the fray, and I think that is going to what's potentially going to create permanency to remote workforce is companies like Facebook going, all right, I can pay you $250 if you're in our offices, or I can pay you $85 if you're in Florida. I'm more interested in paying $85 to people in Florida because it costs me the same as a business.
I know firsthand where people lived in Key West, we had to pay them an increase to their salary simply because the standard of living was so much higher to maintain in Key West that we had to pay them more because of where they were compared to if they were working and operating another hotel in another location. But also there was a positive thing that in Southern California, the people that lived in the little non-movable RVs that were parked on the sides of the road because they're going to college. These dilapidated RVs that basically didn't run. They got towed from location to location because they could park on the side of the road. They've gone down a little bit. Not everybody was a student, but they went down for those that were because they could literally stay home with mom and dad in Nebraska and still go to a college in California because they didn't have to be in the class anymore.
I do think, though, that somebody who's not willing to pay something reasonable and beneficial for the remote worker, if that person has talent, somebody else is going to pay them more. If they were a $250 a year person.
Yeah, but see, but what I'm actually saying is they're only a $250,000 a year person because they're in Silicon Valley. They're an $85,000 a year person in Florida. $85,000 in Florida gets you the same quality of living as $250,000 a year in Silicon Valley. Like that's the dynamic change is.
But, yeah,
it's
to Adele's point that there will be an interesting salary war with some places that somebody says, oh, they tried to lowball you with the location thing, huh? Yeah, I'll drop 100 on you.
Right. But that's actually good. That'll raise the median salary of all these other locations.
Yeah.
It's economically, it's really good for these, highly concentrated California companies to be allowing workforce outside of California and encouraging it as part of an investment strategy. Because they're going to pay a little bit more than the other companies in the state of Florida are going to pay. And so it makes sense. This is also why I've started both of my businesses in the state of Florida. Is I pay substantially above the median income of the area, but it's still cheap compared to if I was in New York, if I was in Boston, if I was in Chicago, if I was in LA, if I was in Silicon Valley. It's a fraction, but I'm paying way above the median of the area. It's really nice. It works really well. It's one of the things I like about having a global economy business that is in a location where the cost of living is so low. There are almost no taxes. I can be amongst the highest payer in the region, and still not come close to what it would cost me if my headquarters were in Seattle.
Right. But also some other impacts that I'm noticing, what they're saying too, is that because of time zone differences in some circumstances, companies are creating incentive values of saying, we'll let you work 4 days if you shift your day schedule to include and accommodate time zone shift. So you can go to work at 11 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock in the morning, but you have to work until 9 o'clock at night because there's no commute times and so forth. There's high productivity anyway, but they're saying we can compress these things now and change these things now that you're willing to shift and so forth. There's a whole lot of it. Like, again, with anything, it's accelerated this dialogue that was probably going to be years in the creation into months of conversion for us, you know, in the sense of workabilities of distance and time zone shifts and productivities and lack of commutes and everything else like that. You know, that I'm sure all these people that are building these highways and so forth are totally looking at how is this going to impact the fact that we're building a 12-lane road between here and there. And now all of a sudden, do we need the 12 lanes,
Right.
or what have you? And that, you know, it's going to be interesting how this all impacts stuff. Robert, are you back with us?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yay!
You need
you're
to
very
follow up a little bit,
I
but
think
yeah.
it's probably my antivirus software is doing something. I changed computers and it still didn't work. So I've got some overzealous antivirus software. Same thing as checking into a hotel when I don't want to wear my mask and these people get in my face. Just so annoying and inconvenient.
Well, Robert, I mean, I miss the hugs and the sloppy kisses. That's for sure. Okay.
I don't, Lauren, I don't miss those with you. I just have to be honest.
Damn it. I thought that was something we had in common.
No.
So what was your favorite topic on your list this week?
I never have a favorite topic. Those are all, it's like picking amongst your children. What can you possibly do? So no. I always let you guys pick. So I saw that you talked about the conversions. No, I just thought the whole SPAC thing is going to get very, very big, right? So when you have these special purpose acquisition funds where you're going to have a variety of people managing them, and you're basically just giving them money and hoping for the best if you don't really know who these guys are and what they're doing.
I want to throw out some creative stuff that I've been bouncing around on the podcast a little bit, but we haven't really talked to so much on the show. We brought it up a couple of times, OTTs and so forth, of on demand TV and what have you, and what you're capable of doing now. Also, what's opening up too is even more channels of opportunity. Spotify, iHeartRadio are all opening up. Hulu now has direct marketing you can do with them as well. Plus, there's platforms I've talked about before, Branzuka and Addy, where you can do these very good targetings on them. But you have to have the media capable of doing it. You can't just pull out a quasi walk around phone video and think that you're going to pop it up on Hulu as an ad. It has to have some semblance of production for it to be. Now, it doesn't have to be totally pro. You have to be dropping $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 to do these things. But if you've maximized, now do this, I'm going to channel Stuart on this one. If you've maximized your block and tackle SEO, SEM, CRM functionalities, and you're looking for expanded opportunities for communication channels, these are becoming easier to do.
Hulu, I don't know
if
you've seen Hulu's new ad types where it actually, when the commercial's running, you can just click if you want to subscribe your email to that person, to that business. That is incredibly interesting. If that's where IPTV advertising is going to go, that all of a sudden becomes really attractive. Because you'll actually be able to track, did this ad actually drive revenue? You'll be able to drive a straight line. And I've seen it now across 3 different types of ads on Hulu where it's GDPR compliant. My screen only shows the first letter of my email address and the last letter of my email address, and just says, "Do you want to submit to
Yep.
receive communications from this?"
Yeah, it's like a lead gen that Facebook. I mean, same mentality. And also, too, if you notice that the intern, when you pause now on some channels, you get immediate pop-up screen holders,
Yeah.
and you can do the same thing with them. Where you
Brilliant.
just click on and say, "Boom, I want it." That's all available, and it's not crazy expensive. I mean, right
And the
now,
targeting on IPTV is almost as solid as just normal, paid.
targeting.
Yeah, like
Oh,
you're
Yeah.
targeting profile, location, all of that stuff. It's really good.
And it's not just where you have to guess at it. At first, when I went into building my first campaigns, I'm like, oh, so what TV shows do my demographics want? No, they help you the whole process. What are you looking for? Where are you looking for them? What do you want them to be interested in based on what you have to offer? Boom, boom, boom. And they start giving you selective processes. They tell you the audience size, optimum time of day, optimum shows.
They really copied Facebook's model. I mean, that's
in a very good way. And
Facebook
I'm not
did a
just talking about
fantastic
Hulu.
job.
I mean, this isn't just a Hulu thing. This is lots of channels. ATTV, Sling, Fubo, all the ones are doing this now. And then from the audio side, which is also audio visual, which is something I didn't give credit to. When I first got the Spotify beta, I'm like, it said strictly audio. Then it added audio video. And then when another platform came up that offered Spotify and iHeartRadio, Foundy was a platform that I was using now, not that was using now, where it can do audio and video on each of these, but the threshold of what you have to spend is lower. With Spotify, it's $250 to get started. That's how small, and that to me was big. Okay, these other ones I can drop 150, do both of them, target my times, my audiences, my date ranges, and my demographics, and I'm getting exposure to 3,000 to 5,000 people, absolutely granularly targeted to who I want to talk to for this stuff. And which is, again, goes back to my, how much do you push the idea of travel to these people? But I'm trying to focus on the need for travel. Come into town, do the retail purchasing, pick up your stuff at the stores, go visit family during the holidays, but don't stay with them. Where you're kind of doing a balance act between travel, but do it because you have to, or do it because it's part of what you need to do, kind of thing. So
Now I've got a question. Are they letting you target down to the actual show that is playing, or are they
Yes.
drawing? They are doing that too.
yes,
Yeah, so that's great.
yeah, you don't have to. You can get that
No, no.
far. You
Oh
don't
no,
have
I'm
to.
just wondering from their business because on that they must have some form of revenue share with the content producers, right?
Oh yeah.
Well,
Or
we're-
they
we're-
will.
I mean, I've mentioned this briefly on the shows before, but we're actually having a channel launch this month called the Hospitality Marketing. And for lack of a better word, channel. It's like I'm putting a Hulu or a Netflix up. It's a subscription monthly that you do, and you're going to get feed from Adele, from Dean, where the video you pay. Right now I'm thinking $4.99.
Wow,
people to-
you can get this show too for $499 a month.
No.
That's
That
all
show's
for those-
free.
I mean, but Robert, when you think about the cost per minute of content,
Exactly.
like that's actually a really good
Absolutely.
deal.
It's a hell of a deal. Damn it, Robert! Come on. No, $4.99 per month.
Oh, the introductory rate. Okay, I understand.
I'm a little disturbed about people at 4:00 in the morning that want to watch this, but hey,
Hey, there's people in Malaysia that are watching this show now.
No.
2:00
That's
in the
Lauren.
morning.
Lauren is going to have the advertising platforms, the mental health clinics and things like that can advertise very targeted to those folks.
He's
Yeah,
going
that'd be
to
perfect.
he's going to call it Lauren Gray Plus.
Yeah,
exactly.
His growth.
Yeah.
I saw his growth deck, and he is expecting the same type of subscriber growth that Disney Plus has experienced in its first year.
That's
Um,
my goal.
I thought Lauren had bought the name to Quibi. I'm sorry.
No, he wants it to succeed, Robert.
Anywho,
One thing I'm just finishing off a second white paper for this project, but hopefully it'll be out. Maybe not by the end of the year, but beginning of the year for high-speed internet and guest room entertainment. And boy, yeah, try getting Hulu into a hotel where some of these hotel brands can't even get meetings with Hulu, right? To get it's just horrible, right? It's really ugly, and these hotel groups are sitting there going, yeah. Not to pick, I'll use Marriott as an example. They didn't actually say this, but if you look at Marriott, they've got 1.4 million little movie theaters there. if everything was occupied every night.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, those channels and those platforms do not consider the hotel industry to be much of anything. Is one challenge. The other side of it is just the underlying technology, where one of the groups is like, oh, it's such a hassle, we're going to go straight to just pure casting, right? We're just going to rip all that stuff out because it's so expensive. I go, oh, great. So what percentage of your rooms are set up to do that now? Oh, about 6-7%. It's like, oh, how long have you had kind of the standard in? Oh, 5-6 years. Oh, yeah, there's going to be a gap there while people which again is a huge
Telling you,
But I can also just watch it on my laptop.
I mean, the
well,
bottom
yeah,
line
that's true,
is,
but you
and
got
that's
this nice
where
HD, 4K
bring your
screen
own
hanging on the
bring
side.
your own device is the way I think these hotels should be building. If you do
Yeah.
bring your own device, then you are not wrestling with this garbage
Right.
scenario. Set up so your TVs can be monitors.
Absolutely.
And you know what? If you want to make a little scratch off of it, like put a login screen to unlock the bring your own device, and that you captured, you got what you wanted.
Right.
Don't mess with this crap. Like this is because here's the thing: you're gonna back the wrong horse. Like no matter what. 5 years from now, one of the big streaming services is not going to be what it is anymore. It may be Netflix, it may be Hulu, like it's going to go away. So if you overinvest in trying to get your arms around it, it's just a garbage investment. And it's really like you're forcing weirdness onto your guests by not just embracing bring your own device. Bring your own device. I'm going to say it over and over again. I don't remember the password to my Netflix, but my laptop and my phone do. Let me just sync it up to your screen so I can watch it on the big screen and move on.
And ultimately what will happen is the hotel app will be the controller of that, right? And theoretically, you can go maybe get your Netflix and things like that connected to your hotel app and just go, okay, here's what my stuff is, and then you check in and then you're done, right? You can seamlessly hotspot
even more simplistic.
you can onboard onto their Wi-Fi. You can get Netflix right on the thing, and you can control, and you're done. Right.
I even go any more simplistic, and really with the fact that people are using the hotels now for more than just staying, like we talked about office space, getting out of the office, so forth. And Wi-Fi is such a key component. Robert, you pointed out in last week's show, Wi-Fi is just below, what is it, cleanliness?
Cleanliness and hot water.
Hot water. Well,
hot water
pressure.
But the idea of it is
water
that
pressure, yes.
as long as you get a login, and I did this, I got in trouble with Marriott. I've told you that story where I was getting people's emails to sign up to get the Wi-Fi at the hotel and taking that as a database. If you just make that simple one-step gateway saying, hey, get into the Wi-Fi, give us who you are. Most people are honest about putting it in, okay? Even if they're not, so what, you lose a percentage. But then let them do as Ed says, let them use their app onto whatever it is. I'm not real keen on putting on a Marriott TV my Netflix app. I'm sorry if they tell me that they're not keeping it. I know enough in the world that whatever it is.
There's hesitancy to do that. We surveyed that, and there's not. It's actually interesting. They trust hotels quite a bit, but not when it comes to technology. People still would rather, when you ask them how they'd like to check in the future, they go, I would like to give my private information to a desk clerk.
Yeah.
So it's like, that human can go do a bunch of stuff with that.
Right.
But that's
from now on, I'm going to be traveling with my Oculus, so I'm just going to be watching TV in a big old screen and a little theater in my own mental mind, watching it rather than being on TV.
Tripping over children in the lobby.
Yep, that's exactly it.
Right? Just get the stuff out of my way. No, because it is the engagement of that stuff is going to get more and more insane.
And I got to tell you, like, how many of you have 5G phones right now?
Yeah.
So I got to tell you, 5G is blowing my mind.
Really?
The high quality 5G signal that I have is insane. And what's even more insane is the 5G service is better than the 4G LTE service in the same exact spot. I don't know what the deal is with that, but like, I don't see even a need for hotel Wi-Fi for me because, by the way, the service plan I have now, my hotspot is insane, and 5G is 80 megs right now in most of the areas I'm at.
Except if you go into the building, and that's
no.
A lot of
That's what I'm like, Robert. My office
Yeah.
is normally for my 4G LTE, I normally have 1 bar in my office. I have 3 bars of 5G.
Your office may have put in they may have the radios in the.
That's and so that's the
They
thing.
probably
that
did, and the hotels need to do that, right?
Right,
And again,
and-
it's complicated because you have different carriers and different standards and how that's going to happen. And
Well,
they're
you can
all-
still do a boost. I mean, you can do a repeater that isn't centric on whether it's AT&T, Verizon or not. You're broadcasting
Oh yeah,
whatever it's from. But to Ed's point, I've had to rethink how I handle my phone. I'm not even as fast as Ed's stuff because down here we're a little thinner on the coverage. But my 5G is still that much faster than what my 4 was. When I go download an app or download something, I usually like, okay, download, it's like, okay, let me go look at it. It's like, it's there. It's a very interesting change in how I handle the phone.
So the 5G around here is not the millimeter wave, like it's
Right.
the broad wave.
right.
It's still about 30 megabits per second faster than full service 4G LTE in this area.
Yeah.
And that's blown my mind. I had zero expectation for 5G to be anything meaningful for at least the next 6 months. And my mind is blown by how good the 5G service is here. To the point where, like, I mean, even in my house, I only have 1 bar of 4G in my house. I have 3 bars of 5G in my house.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. So I will say, like, this is also another reason for bring your own device. Like, you want to start easing up on your Wi-Fi, like, find out how to get 5G towers on the top of your building.
Yep.
Which is
radios and repeaters throughout.
right.
coverage depending on-
And magically, anyone who's on 5G doesn't need to be on your Wi-Fi. And I'd prefer not to be on your Wi-Fi because I don't trust you. I much prefer to be on my 5G and using my own data, and using my own logins and using my own services. I just want to see it on the big screen. Make that happen.
Right.
So much problem with that. I can't tell you how many times I had to call somebody to come up to the room that it wouldn't work, even though the day before it worked, or the
Yeah.
last time I it worked. And the
Oh,
same.
what's even better is when your room you're sitting on the bed and you get the signal. You go over to the desk where you have to work on your laptop and there's no signal. It's like, seriously, that distance, and I can't get and so you have to end up sitting on the edge of the bed because that's the only place you get a signal or something. But yes, it's very true for that. Ed, just so you know, I got to go to the East Coast this weekend to do something for my brother and sister-in-law's condo. I'm actually trying to make the loop to go through Miami so I can hit the high nest.
So you want to hit the millimeter wave? Yeah.
Yeah. I want to just see what it's like. So yeah.
But I am just blown away, and maybe it's just because I don't trust anyone anymore. The quality of 5G coverage, AT&T says it's good. It's really good. It's better than their 4G coverage, and I'm blown away by that.
Yeah, but it's market to market, and
Sure.
and carrier to carrier, just like everything.
But
The
I'm in a
challenge again
market.
for the hoteliers. The hoteliers have to go to CBRS, which will actually then get everything working inside the building. But nobody's there yet, and they aren't close. And the owners don't have the sophistication to do it. The hotel brands don't have like a revenue stream to go make this profitable for them, so they're lagging. The management companies aren't really there, and you've got a big gap, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, where the office buildings are more like, damn it, our lawyers need to be getting their phone calls on their mobiles, and this is going to happen.
Yeah, but even as that, like, as someone who's owned property that's had cell tower leases on it, cell tower leases are fantastic. If you can
Yeah.
have
Oh yeah,
on the top of your hotel, if you can put cell tower, like, it's
Yep.
like 30 grand a year in revenue.
oh yeah.
Like,
No, there are revenue. Same with Hotspot 2.0. You can get some revenue that'll defray the cost of Wi-Fi, help people onboard really smoothly if they've
Yeah.
got Spectrum or something. It is, but the sophistication to go do that and to get it integrated and tied in and go, oh crap, how do you get this, to connect to the, to my Oracle PMS and stuff like that? Then yeah, it's fun. So
yeah. Bring your own device. I'm going
Yeah.
to say it endlessly. Don't put Echoes in your room. Don't put like
No.
tablets in your room. All of that is just wasted investment.
absolutely. Yeah.
Make a really good app that adds huge amounts of functionality and value and allow people to put it on their device and allow their device to be the thing. Everyone's got a device now.
To be
Now, one thing-
completely agnostic. To be
No, going back to an earlier
provider
thing where we-
agnostic, device agnostic. Yep,
Yeah.
that's the end game. How
Yep.
you get there is the question, right?
Going back to an earlier thing where we were promoting or congratulating Milestone on their Engage platform discussion yesterday, one thing that I thought was very interesting was the statistics that they shared about voice engagement when it comes to what guests may potentially be using, and also the searchability and the quality of how you're discovered on it. I mean, of course, it was the lead to the value of schema. And you're looking. I mean, there's strings attached to all that kind of comment. It's not just creating a skill on Alexa and poof, there you are. It's about being able to be represented from a search results value from all of what you're doing for it. And schema is the key element to the voice control stuff. But as we're talking about this kind of technology, so forth, our engagement types are also going to be fundamentally changing. Not just our own personalization of usage of technology, but also how we engage with that technology for what we're needing. I can, and I already have been. But as Ed, you point out with 5G, even more so, I go plop in a hotel room and I'm talking to my phone about where's the closest Korean barbecue place, or, to give me directions to such and such, because what's the, Food Channel's closest restaurant that they featured. That's all conversation question that will come out from a result that's going to come from how we do it. We already know from the latest upgrade with Siri from iOS that it's gotten better at it. It's gotten better map engagement. It's got better location engagement. It's still not Google level yet. I don't think. Ed, you might disagree with me. I don't think it's that as good as all the what Google on its map program. But it has some interesting aspects to it. But we're going to engage more and more with that kind of stuff, and so how we do that from a discovery point of view is going to be different. We're going to go different.
Well, and the rate of change in that area is why you should not be investing to put devices in your rooms. I'm sorry. Like,
Right.
By the time you finish rolling it out across a 10 hotel portfolio, the devices are already old, outdated. A year from now, people are going to be annoyed by them. And I think back to, you guys remember when Aria first opened and it had all those amazing automations and the tablet and
little
all
tablet
of that
beside
stuff.
the bed.
And
Yeah.
I'm sorry, like, you walk into it now and you touch one of those tablets and you watch the 7-second delay for the tablet to respond, and you're like, this is garbage. But they can't.
It wasn't that good. I was there 2 weeks after they opened, and it wasn't that good.
No, but it was okay. It was okay compared to the tablets at the time
It was
and everything.
bells and whistles. Yeah, it was like, oh, that's a
Right.
cute, but it wasn't. There was limited utility. It was just like they had, basically a tablet to basically check in, right? You could do this, and what did they use it for? A signature. That was it. There's nothing else, right?
Yep.
Like
I remember that when I went
yeah.
there, a guy was having problems with the tablet. The guy comes up to fix it, pulls the cabinet back where the tablet had the wires going through, and it looked like Band-Aids and bubble gum.
Yeah.
There was so many repairs on top of repairs because people have yanked it too hard and yanked wires out. So all the repairs were just, repairs on top of repairs. I'm like, oh my God, no
And
wonder.
this is why you should not at all be even thinking about it.
Yeah.
Well, just think about your.
Oh, no, they get there. They start twisting start twisting the connector. It's like, don't do that. The wires in back are all going to disconnect.
Just think about your typical alarm clock in a hotel room. I'm almost annoyed now when there's a big ass alarm clock occupying that space. I don't want the alarm clock. There's nothing on there that I need. I need a power outlet.
Oh no, it's better yet when you see the very innovative clock that has the 30-pin plug on the top.
Right.
Yeah, that's always good.
Don't have anything like that anymore.
These things again and again, and then you just
Come here, pup.
Saddle agrees.
Come here.
Yeah, I just need
that
a
is
counter
good.
space at this point.
Yeah. So bring your own device. Stop investing in stuff of having other devices. Your screen should be considered a pass through with entertainment options for people who don't have their own device or want something else. And that is infrastructure. Like that's it. And like Robert said too, like looking at 5G, and that infrastructure of, you know, making sure you have good coverage throughout your building greatly alleviates the investment you have to make in bandwidth.
At least the REITs, the hotel brands, and the management companies that I spoke with, nobody's seriously looking at it. At 5G, Wi-Fi 6, or Hotspot 2.0. The
What
triumvirate.
the hell?
Stuart,
Oh my goodness.
Last part.
What's up, everybody? Sorry I'm late to the party.
Stuart's ears started ringing when he heard us saying have really good apps for your hotel. He's like, "Oh,
Sales opportunity.
I'm in."
Last Thursday, I was supposed to buy pizza for everyone. So, you know, if you want to place that order.
Oh, wow. That's the real reason I came.
Stuart, by the way, Dean has a Quest 1, so he's going to be joining us on our squad later today.
Look at that.
You know,
Distance is futile at this point.
Hey, is there a significant difference between the Quest 1 and Quest 2?
Huge.
Did the
Yeah.
two bring anything to the table?
Two does not need a PC to drive. It's standalone.
So is the Quest 1.
yeah, but
Yeah,
no, the
but the two
resolution
is so
and
much
the processor-
faster, better
gotcha.
resolution.
The resolution is twice as good, and the processor is
Really?
exponentially a
Yeah.
lot faster.
Man.
And it's only $299 for 64 gigabytes.
I
storage.
sold
Just-
that out last year.
Yeah, no,
You can give
that's
me
all
the
right.
Quest 1 and you can buy the Quest 2. Problem solved.
That's right. There you go.
But it is remarkable, and I am going to go over and buy one of the Amazon Adventures because what's been kind of fun. And I
Oh, what's
and I
a what's an Amazon adventure?
the Amazon is selling guided tours in virtual reality.
Oh, yeah.
Ah,
Remember when we were all worried about Amazon jumping into the travel space because they started selling these adventures? That's these.
Yeah, no one predicted that being the path. Everyone pontificated on how they were going to tackle travel again. It's like virtual reality tours. I did not see that coming.
Now,
Which
and I don't
actually
think
is
they're gonna-
really funny because how do you beat Google at the travel buying journey? It's to get people to stop buying travel.
It's not. It's not. And honestly, and
I'm joking. I'm
I know.
joking.
But I think there's a market for those who can't travel, especially now, and those who may not be able to travel in the future and want to reminisce or be able to view what they can't get to anymore. I can't stand on the top of Mount Everest, but golly, is it amazing the video.
I'm going to
effect.
call it now. Okay. So all of you have been to the grocery store as of late, I'm sure, right? And you've noticed that half the people shopping are like Instacart or, you know, not
Oh, yeah.
actually shopping for themselves. Now, because of Amazon doing these guided tours, you're going to go on vacation and half the people on vacation with you are not
Remember.
on their own vacation. They're
That's
giving
right.
someone else a vacation.
right. Yeah, exactly.
It's
I mean,
it's the Instacartification of all experiences.
Well, in some ways, yes. In other ways, it's going to be interesting to see how it gets translated. But the cool part of it is that you get to see stuff. I've never been to Machu Picchu, but last night I got to stand in lots of different places and
Yeah.
look at the view. It makes me want to go. And I think that's what I'm trying to point out is that right now Rick Steves is taking his old shows and putting them on as a Zoom for everybody to join. And he does, as you pointed to what the term was, director's cut.
Yeah.
You know, where he's kind of talking you through what it did to do make the show, what they didn't put in the show, what you should do in addition to what he said on the show, and it's pretty fun because it's like, wow, I want to go now to the Australian Alps, the Australian Alps.
Hotel aspect for a minute. You know, there have been virtual tours of hotels have been around for a while, 360 photos and things like that. Are there hotels out there now that I can put on an app on a Quest 360 or whatever, or Oculus, and go check out the hotel and use that as a selling point?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
think about it from a meeting planning perspective.
The meeting planners, some are doing it.
You
Some
could
are doing
even
a pretty
send
good job.
the
of that.
device to people that are big enough for meeting planners, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Send them the device and say, experience it this way.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen people
But,
send
Dean,
tablets
to
out.
answer your question, yes, I'm willing to bet you there's some hotel that has taken the media that they shot for other purposes and have put it up somewhere on Oculus with a giant book now button.
I kind of want to see that. So if somebody out there has done that, send us.
And they've now told everyone else that Oculus is not a good channel for marketing because their book now button didn't work.
Yeah.
Just like
No,
they
they
said
had it on Google Daydream.
with
They're
book
booking
now
it
on
there,
social
not
media and book now on Pinterest and book now everywhere else that they want to put book now, regardless of what the person's doing. Hotels had book now in grocery stores, but it didn't work. So grocery stores just aren't a good place to sell things.
I'm one of those people that don't even show up at the grocery store. I pull in the parking lot and pop my trunk and let them bring the stuff out.
What was really weird was 2 years ago when Lauren was doing that.
You know, they usually were running out because, well, anyway. So yeah, but the idea that people, the research thing, I think Stuart, you brought this up months ago, and the conversations from the surveys you were doing, people are doing a lot more in depth looking at what they're going to look at when they do decide to go and do something. You know, they're really
Because they have nothing to do right now.
right. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
They're taking the time to go look for these things and decide, do I want to go to the Australian Alps or Antarctica and look at a penguin? Which, by the way, if you go on
I don't
National
think-
Geographic,
I don't think anyone's trying to go to Antarctica because you actually can't unless
Well, you
you're
can.
a scientist.
you can go to Antarctica.
Without
Well,
the
you
manual.
I want to go to the physical North or South Pole, either one, and to the actual geographic, not magnetic, but the geographic North Pole, and
Good
walk
luck finding it
and
if,
say
you
that I
don't-
walk.
if you're not going to the magnetic one.
I want to walk around the world.
Yeah, walk around the world. Right.
So, Stuart, what you've missed is this show has had no direction at all.
You missed
Robert,
nothing of that.
Robert's
That's
Robert-
fine.
Okay, let's put some structure in. We can do. Let's talk about Peninsula hotels having really no scrapping check-in, check-out time.
No, we already covered.
we already talked about that, Robert. It was
Oh,
during
you
the
did?
time.
Oh,
yeah.
see, I must
We,
have been having
we actually
audio
talked
issues.
about it to great depth.
Oh, good.
Yes,
Okay.
Adele brought that to the table.
Oh, okay, that's
After
good.
you dodged
Have
the
you
what's
all
my
actually-
favorite topic?
have
All
you
of them
all
are. It's like picking
seen-
from my children. Yeah.
Have you seen the new movement, the organization called Thrive Women in Travel?
Yes, I heard of it, but I
I
don't.
think we should have them on the show. They are focusing on how to help the women in travel who have had an overweighted impact on their careers due to COVID. And it's actually really interesting. Multiple really strong, powerful women from our industry are involved in this. Stuart, Alex Usner is involved in it. And I think it's really interesting what they're trying to do.
Let's get him on.
Yeah.
Would Alex be the person to reach out to?
I don't know. I mean, it could be Alex. It could be Claudia Infante is involved in it.
Oh, I know Claudia. I know
Already
Claudia.
on that. Okay.
Yeah. Got Michelle Marquise involved in it. Like it's kind of like the who's who of, who's well known in this industry. But I really like what they're working on. It's a very clear, kind of path, and I think we should have them on.
Well, it'd be fun is we got them back on, and we got Tracy on, and we called Kat and asked if she could come on because now we're dealing with 3 different entities driving towards women engagement.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So yeah. Anyways, they're starting to push on LinkedIn. I really think they started kind of marketing it this week,
Cool.
but it looks like they've been working on it for quite some time.
Before we run out of time, I did want to bring up the fact of what you did throw in there, Robert, about Ticketmaster, because a lot of what the sports teams were doing about tracking and tracing safety,
Oh yeah. Yep.
and then
For
Ticketmaster
concerts?
talking about doing that too. Is there potentially a bleed over into we're turning into Big Brother of unless you're walking around with a green badge, you can't get into places?
Oh, I would certainly think so. I mean, it's going to be the entire thing from a security perspective. I mean, in this case, it's more like a public health, have you been screened sort of thing. But yeah, I think that's there's just going to be more of it. And the Ticketmaster guys for the concerts are going to take that to the nth degree, right? Of can you get onto the floor for your floor seats? Can you get backstage for your VIP meet and greet and make all of that stuff much more seamless, right? get to the priority concession stand or get things delivered. Yeah, they'll start really doing some interesting things with it, I predict.
Because strangely enough, I mean, there's the criteria. When was the last time you got a test? What was the result of the test? How soon, do you need a test before you do something? If you begin to travel, do you need a test at a certain time zone or time opportunity before you can travel? If you're staying in a certain place, can you require a test to be done at a certain time before you arrive?
Well,
I mean,
or
there's a lot
the
of-
vaccination. When the vaccinations happen, you're going to the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. Does that suddenly create two completely different classes of potential customers? Right.
Or you could be just
get
like what
very
Senator Yahoo said to everybody. What's his name with the curly hair? That said everybody that already had COVID should take their mask off and rejoice. Just do that. I mean, that seems to make sense.
Yeah. Well, but the number of people spoofing it, because if there are incentives that you can do more stuff, if you have been vaccinated but you haven't been, how do you just kind of just tag along with those folks? How do you get at the cool kids table at lunch, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to get messy. So.
Yes, it is going to be interesting. As you said, 2021 is going to be a bit of a year of patience, because even one of your other articles too about resurgence of economies, how 2024 is more realistic back to where we were pre-COVID.
That's their fourth. I think that they started with 2022. They then, like a couple months later, changed to 2023, and now they've gone to 2024.
Well, I'm now looking region by region. But the reason I was late, I just got back from a retreat for the Myrtle Beach Chamber and CVB. It's the DMO for the area. So we were looking at that data at a granular level, and it's definitely depends on your market mix and some other factors.
Well, and I think actually it's going to get interesting, because we were talking to a DMO this week that is predominantly has always been a corporate and big convention market, and the DMO themselves are focused heavily on attracting leisure. And making that a big part of not just the short-term effort, but they're now long-term thinking about how leisure investment needs to be substantial to help keep them more balanced.
Yeah.
That impact is going to be interesting, because I think in the short term, any leisure-centric travel destination is going to recover at a pretty aggressive trajectory. But then I think they're going to feel pressure of new competition from these heavy leisure markets investing heavily in attracting leisure travel. I think it's going to create this kind of permanent shift of who your geos are that you're targeting.
It's going to be interesting to see what kind of time span that takes to shift in whether it has staying power, because we've also got this phenomena in the U.S. where there's this delta of there's an extra 19 million people that used to travel out of the country versus who used to travel in, right? So there's now 19 million more Americans that are looking for somewhere to travel because they can't go abroad. So there's a bigger pool of leisure travelers as well. But the reason a lot of these destinations are so heavily on the big conferences typically is because it creates that compression that just drives up the ADR so much. So leisure there's no leisure market that can really do that as well. So will they go back to the old drinking hole?
This one conversation I was having was their goal is to, they never focused on leisure. Like leisure was like almost laughable when someone would bring it up. They'd be like, leisure, we don't need that.
Smurf business, right? No one wanted to touch Smurf until now because it's the only group business that exists.
Right. So, but what they're talking about is actually investing and thinking through some permanency to raising up the percentage of leisure travel they attract, even when conventions and all of that return, to try and help them be better equipped for
the next pandemic.
Potential.
Yeah, but it's easy to say that now, right? But you get 5 or 10 years down the road and hope not another one, and they start seeing they can't get the same ADR that they were because the compression isn't there. They're going to go back to old habits.
It's
not
that plus the whole alternative accommodation, right? And that's taken the peak off the ADRs as well for the large citywides. So
Yeah.
Well, you bring up a very good point. I try to think of these huge downtown boxes, and unfortunately, I keep popping Omnis in my head. But I know there's more than that, like Atlanta with the Westin and so forth. But just saying you're chasing after leisure doesn't do anything. All you're doing is you're diluting the rate opportunity and market because you're throwing your hat in the ring that everybody else is already in. And to your point, Ed, that you made up earlier, that created a compression for the other places that did focus on leisure. You can't stay downtown because that's all corp and group and conference and everything else. You stay with us, we get you the opportunity to come into market. Well, now all of a sudden, that epicenter property, that big box that's sitting in the middle of everything that you used to sell corp travel and group travel on, is now saying we're taking leisure. Well, they got to fundamentally change their service models in some ways. They got to change with their product model, and they got things they got to do other than just saying we have room and rate. Because you're talking about walking into a big box that's got 20 floors and an atrium and massive space, and you got one little front desk clerk because there's not enough business to have two front desk clerks. There's a feeling of this isn't really cool. And plus, also, is the infrastructure of travel and amenities and convenience still being presented at the same levels that they would have been should the hotel have been doing the business it used to be doing. So there's a lot of that they got to throw in there. They just can't say we're going to cut down our costs and hope people show up because we're offering a rate that's comparable to everybody else. There's a whole market strategy that's going to change.
well, their eight they didn't have their 8 restaurants and everything open. It was one, a subset of hours at their what used to be a 24-hour cafe, right?
Right. Right.
Which is now mostly grab and go most of the hours of the day.
And then on the reverse of it, those hotels that used to get the benefit of transient travel, leisure travel, because of the conversion of the corporate server, how can they counter what's now in their sandbox of offers from this big box downtown to validate that they're still the better alternative because they've always been there, they will always be there, and that they have this infrastructure of services that's providing the value that people will decide differently to be with and compared to them.
I think any convention hotel should have a veneer of a lifestyle leisure component because meetings are feast or famine. And you're always going up and down and up and down and up and down with these big arrivals and departures. And to have nice, steady business all the time, you need to have a leisure component. That if you really want to be doing your best every day, that's
but they're kind of like they'll date the person until they find a cuter person. I think that they're going to go back to their old ways as soon as they see the business worth it, that they can get the big groups.
Yeah, they're not going into these markets because they want to. It's because they have
to. Right.
Yeah. Because as soon as they can start getting some of the larger chunks back, then they're going to be like, yeah, thanks, we appreciate it, but we're going to go back to the way we. It's a sad thing, but it's true because they just have the room blocks to fill. You would love to think that they think of themselves more as hoteliers and who walks in my door is my guest, and I'm going to want any guest that I can. But they look at it from the math of displacement of like, this person's not going to be able to, I can get 1,000 of those people at that rate, or I can get 10 of these people at this rate. I'll take the 1,000 for those rate, But the interesting is the change of what they are providing. How fast will they ramp up on all their amenities? How fast will they ramp up on their traditional services? On what level of business do they need to do that? Like having all the, you look at something like the Marquis in New York. It was taxi lane row. I mean, it was out around, they had control over the taxi demand. Certain taxis were favored to the guys because they did this. All that's gone, the people that were, the groups of things in the restaurants in the areas that would accommodate the splinter groups from conferences that were going on, it's gone.
Yep.
And now you have the random person that's showing up with a suitcase going, I always wanted to stay in this place. And they're like, oh, yeah, hi.
And they shouldn't be. They should appreciate it.
Yeah.
They should be, thank you. Here's our hospitality.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I'd love to stay and chat. I do have to.
We're at critical time. That's the 2 hour mark.
Thank you all. Have a wonderful
weekend. Ed, before you go, flip to, where to, how to, what to?
Flip to. Flip.to. You can find me on social media, Edward St. Ange. And thank you all.
Okay, we're just gonna call you the prince
Right.
of the marketing world. Just one name. That means everything.
Wait, I thought he was the Prince of Darkness.
That too.
Well, yeah.
Same
Well,
thing.
yeah.
Bye, guys.
With that in mind, we are at the 2-hour mark.
The 2-year mark.
You came at the tail end, but it was good to see you, dude.
Well, I'm glad I could make it. I do when I can. But
If you had a quest, you could join Dean and I. We're about to go shoot things. It's okay.
okay.
Hey, can I mention one more thing? One additional thing that was just interesting on Thrive, because I just Googled it, right? And Kayak had basically an organic listing for it, for if you're attending the conference, book a hotel with a nice little isolated, here's the string, I think it was Miami or whatever, here are the hotels that are booking it. It was very well done by Kayak. Smart
Nice.
way to do it. Yep.
Nice. Adele, you pointed up the fact that you're doing something for HSMAI South Florida this week.
Yes. Next week on the 19th at I think it's 11 Eastern. No, I think it's 2. It's 2 p.m. So there is the link if anybody wants to join in.
Awesome.
How to stand out in a highly competitive market.
And speaking of which, if people want to know more about what you do and what Aspire Reputation Marketing is, where is it they can find you? Where can they go?
AspireReputationMarketing.com. Where if you love to get great reviews and you'd like to see your hotel climb and be the top rated hotel in your market, I had a lot of experience helping hoteliers do that. And you can even get a free reputation assessment and consultation. So AspireReputationMarketing.com.
I do the same. I keep saying management all the time too. And you correct me. He's like, no, it's marketing. And since Dean is one of your greatest fans, since he just recently or will be having interviewed you on his new super spiffy. Hey, I got a little something bone to pick with you, Stuart. What's with the compliment and then the bashing of the host, pre-host on the, what's up with that? Why are you dogging on the pre-host?
Sometimes you just have to cast off the dead wood to be able to soar, and
I think so. Yep. Get rid of the ballast, right?
Rob did not ask you to join his side of the conversation. Dean, don't listen to him, man. Your intro dude is top. He's good. Okay, don't kick him out. Now,
good job, guys. First couple episodes have been great, Dean. Really, really solid.
Really, honestly, and Adele's going to be following in that vein as soon as she gets her podcast launched. So she's going to have a very cool one. But Dean, the content's been profound.
Until the 19-minute mark, that was great.
Yeah. Yeah. But Dean, if you want to know more about what you do and where do they go and your cool podcast and everything else, where do they find you?
Absolutely. So we do have a new podcast that we've just launched. Actually, we're on episode 2, just came out this week. And so we've got 2 websites, basecampmeta.com as well as metasearchmarketing.com. One thing in particular, by the way, that we're doing right now, really focusing on how small hotels can get themselves in that same space on Google Metasearch. I'm talking about the hotels that the big guys never talk to, right? So, if you're a branded hotel or Hilton, Marriott, whatever, yeah, you've got Metasearch. I'm talking about that 10-room bed and breakfast in Lincoln, Nebraska that has always been wondering, hey, how could I get my rates and availability out there in Google Metasearch? We have a way to do that for you. And we'll do it for free for the rest of the year. Reach out, let us know if you'd like to take a look at that so you can plan ahead to 2021. And if you want to find me, Dean Schmidt, find me on LinkedIn or Dean at any of those websites, Basecamp Meta, metasearchmarketing.com.
Mr. Robert, since it's such a privilege to have you here again, you honor us with your presence, your list, and your very intellectual thingamajiggy that you do.
Thanks, Lord.
And thank you for putting up with muting your mic for most of the show today, by the way. I appreciate it.
Thank you for helping me troubleshoot my audio issues, which apparently seem to be an antivirus or some sort of a Bitdefender problem, I believe. So
we hacked your machine. We just didn't want to hear your nonsense.
Well, yeah, I know he does have that. Is Stuart on the remote mute button? Okay, now we know. Now we know.
He was the dude.
He's hacked the platform. So
Yeah.
Robert K. Cole on social media or rockcheetah.com. And every once in a while I pop up with Focusrite stuff, which The Focusrite conference is actually started a little bit this week, but is next week I'm hosting a hospitality lodging roundtable on Wednesday at about, I think it's about 10-ish Central, with let's see, Klaus Kolmar from Ideas, Philippe Garnier from IHG, and Tracy Mercer from Sabre.
Oh, Tracy Williams. Cool.
Yeah.
And Klaus. Also, your newsletter, people can subscribe
Oh,
to.
yes. Oh, thank you. Very, very well done, Lauren.
That's what I'm here
Yeah.
for.
If you want to get a bunch of news stuff and sometimes some depressing little notes and tidbits here and there.
Sometimes you've been the gloom and doom specter for a month, 2 months, 3 months.
That's right. You can just bit.ly/Rock Cheetah, all lowercase. We'll get you signed up for it.
Very cool. Mr. Stewart, your award-winning podcast, your amazing platform, your incredible booking engine.
And
Where
I
is it
gotta
you
go.
can find
I know where to find Stuart.
Yeah,
Can I do the pitch? Okay, Adele gave if you want to get if you really want to get business focusing on offering the lowest rate. I mean, just pure rate competition. You don't have to clean your rooms. You don't have to have staff. You don't need a trained staff. Go to Stuart. He can market your property very effectively. That is the bread and butter of fuel.
Read my strategy playbook, man. That's exactly right.
Well, there you have it. Yeah.
I got to run.
All right, Robert.
I have a factoid for you. It's totally self-serving factoid for our destination. So I mentioned that I've been at the Myrtle Beach DMO retreat this week. Did you know that Myrtle Beach is the most visited beach on the East Coast? It's the second most visited seaside destination in the country, behind San Diego, and the San Diego numbers include the city of San Diego as well, which is obviously a lot of business. So there's a chance, we're looking into this, there's a chance that Myrtle Beach is the most visited beach for leisure travel in the country, which
Exceeding Miami Beach.
What's that?
Miami Beach, even exceeding Miami Beach.
Oh yeah, significantly more. Yeah. So
Wow.
Miami's in the top 5, but we get more.
Wow.
Yeah, more than Virginia Beach was close, but yeah, looking at what's publicly available in terms of visitation, Myrtle Beach is right there. So
that means we got to be super nice to you because you're influential and powerful in that market, and that means that you can,
hey, I know a lot of people. But yeah, if you want to find out about us, fueltravel.com is the mothership. You can learn about podcasts, learn about the awesome booking engine, which Dean converts just as well on mobile as it does on desktop. So you might want to talk to your clients about upgrading.
I want to talk to you more about that on a show next week.
Yeah. I'm also going to be doing some HSMEI gigs next week on the 18th. So not clashing with Adele, but I've got one for the Central Florida HSMEI chapter talking about its tangible trends and tactics to help deal with the tumultuous times of 2020, I think is what I called it. Something stupid like that.
you almost got enough teas in there.
Yeah, well, the Brits love their tea.
Yeah.
Oh.
Mic drop.
Bad dag joke.
Yeah.
But then also for the HSMI national chapter, we're continuing a series of thought leadership stuff. So I'll be on a panel with Dan Waxman and Jessica Davidson from Wyndham and Tammy from Milestone as well. And we're just going to be talking about some attribution and some just performance marketing and what you should be thinking about as you recover. So we're going to be doing a panel next week. So if you go to hsmei.org, look at the events, you'll get all the information about those. So that's the 18th, I think, doing both of those back.
And if I can throw my hat into suggesting, I know that we talked earlier on the show, and you were here. We did it with Milestones Engage webinar yesterday, or program yesterday, that was pretty much all day long, which was some really excellent content and so forth and so on. But I know you guys, if anybody, could pull off some pretty cool stuff if you gave us the same summer. Maybe not an all day, or maybe broke it up in a few days, but you guys could really bring to the table some very cool stuff.
Yeah, we before Fuel went completely hospitality focused. So we've been around since the early 90s as Fuel Interactive prior to Fuel Travel, and in 2015 we went all in on hospitality, which was really smart, knowing that COVID was coming. But before that, we did a couple of virtual digital summits but they weren't geared towards hospitality. So it's something that's kind of we bounced around. Watch this space. Let's just say that.
All right,
It
cool.
will be fun. We like
Cool,
we
cool,
like sharing knowledge, right? We like
Mhm.
hearing from smart people as well. So it definitely would be a compliment to the podcast and the the studies and the other stuff we do. So
Well, I know my role in that part to play. I'm the comic relief to your smart content, which is fine.
you can be the NC and you can be the butt of all the jokes.
That's exactly it. I know my role. With that in mind, for all those that want to play the show back or any previous 274 shows, you can go to hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com/live. Look for show number 275. I believe we're having a guest co-host next week. Ed's going to get back with me about that. I'm not too sure, but it's always interesting when we get other people on. Java was on us last week, and he wants to join us on a regular basis now. I said, sure. So Java might be one of those people that pop in with us on a regular basis. But for everyone else, don't forget, Adele's coming up with her podcast. Dean has his that just rolled out. There'll be another one in 2 weeks. Stuart, when are you guys launching your podcast? Monday?
Yeah, we have actually a couple. We have a couple of episodes in the hopper. We're up to 170. We just recorded 170, so I've got a couple I need to publish. We've been on a little hiatus just due to other priorities, but we're going to get back on track here with a couple of cool episodes coming out this
Awesome.
week. Yep.
Awesome. And then I think Lily's is going to come out next week again. So for revenue management. So lots of cool content floating around right now, coming up into the holiday period and so forth. Thank you, everyone that participated with us today. And again, for those to join us next week, next Friday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern U.S. time for show number 276. Bye, everybody.
Cheers.